Task 7, Assignment 3, Child Negligence.
Good morning, Ray. I'm so glad you could come in this morning for the interview. As administrator of this school, I'm interested in your perspective on child abuse and neglect. I see in your resume here that you took a course in college on this subject. Could you share some of your views on this topic with me this morning?
Yeah, so I took a child abuse course. I knew people who were child abused in their lives, and attended a few lectures, and it's just really powerful to hear that. I took some workshops in the school. I want to help children who are living in poverty, dirty clothes. You can tell they never wash their hair, brush it, they have shoes that are falling apart. There's just a lot of things wrong with that, and I want to help them improve their lives.
Good. Well, let's talk about some of those early clues or things that we can be looking for in the classroom. As a teacher in the classroom, could you tell me just one or two signs that you would find for emotional neglect, for instance? What were some things you might be looking for as a teacher?
So for children, I would look at their face for emotional neglect. I would see what kind of language they're using, if they're using curse words, if they're not developing correctly. I just really want to help them feel comfortable. I want to help them improve. That's my hope.
What are some of the physical cues that you might look for? For instance, sucking their thumb, some of those kind of things. What might you be watching for?
I would see if they're always in a hurry, they can't stand still. Most of the time that means that there's problems. I want to help with that, make them more comfortable so they don't feel like they always have to be in a rush.
Good. I know that I've had situations in my classroom when I was teaching where I found a child was withdrawn from their peers. Oftentimes I would find them over by themselves at their desks, chewing on their fingernails. What kind of things do you think you could do then to cue me as the administrator that that's happening? What would you do if you saw those types of behavior in your classroom?
Well, if I saw a child alone, I would go up to them and I would talk to them, and then I would go over to the other students and I would try to facilitate communication between them. And then they would communicate and play, hoping that the child would be happy.
I've thought about this as a child growing up deaf. Did you ever feel isolated? Did you have people watching you, thinking perhaps you were neglected? It seems like that could be one of the areas that would show up in some of our children who perhaps are having a difficulty communicating with others in their environment. How do you feel about that?
I know specifically with deaf and hearing children, it's very different. It's hard to get them to socialize. I know from my experience, because I'm deaf, I could communicate with the deaf child and sign with the hearing, and then communication be better for all three of us.
Good. Well, if it's okay, I'd like to also talk about some of the areas of physical neglect. And I know that you talked about that in your class. For instance, what would be some of the physical indicators for you if a child came to school um, consistently poorly dressed, that kind of thing? What other indicators would you look for of physical neglect or abuse from the home?
Well, I guess I would say for physical problems or neglect, I would notice first their clothes. I mean, I could meet with their parents, ask them what's wrong, and the parents are just stricken. Maybe they don't have enough money. Maybe they're poor. Maybe they give the kids everything they have. But if they don't have enough food, I would offer them some. Maybe I would offer some resources for the family.
Um, what about conferencing with the parents? How do you feel you could approach that? If you saw, for instance, a child who came to school hungry, or you began to detect malnourishment, a child that didn't have energy to participate, those kind of things, how do you feel you could approach that in your classroom?
Well, I guess I would notice that the child's eyes were pretty tired. You know, they're pretty sluggish when they walk. Maybe see if they want to go home, sleep. Maybe the parents just threw them out the door as they're so distracted and busy they didn't notice. Maybe the parents just didn't give them enough nutritious food. Maybe they don't have a good bedtime.
Well, that sounds very helpful. I know that our school does have a reduced meal program, the cost for hot meals here on, at the facility. Perhaps one thing you could also suggest to them is that they look into getting their child on a program at the school. There's a variety of things that I feel I can do as an administrator in this school and as a teacher to help a child have a positive school experience. And so I was just hoping today that we would have a chance to just see how well we can do in our facility to facilitate the best possible learning environment. I was also thinking about how we might talk to parents and bring them into our work with the child. Can you think of other things that you could possibly do as the teacher in regards to physical or emotional neglect from the home?
Yes, you can definitely socialize more at school, offering more appropriate food choices at home. Maybe you can give the parents more resources about where they can get food. Maybe offer help. Maybe the parents work too much. I don't know, maybe some other parents, they use drugs. Maybe they would prefer to use drugs and spend the money on groceries. And perhaps in that time it would be appropriate for the child to remove them from the home. hopefully this would influence the parents to stop using drugs. And then the child could be returned back to the home if appropriate.
Right. You know, you're right, Ray. It seems to me that a lot of the children that we find that have gone through physical or emotional neglect come from single-parent families or perhaps low-income families. But I've also found out over the years of working with children that oftentimes neglect can occur in homes where there are both parents. Perhaps they're both working. There's other kinds of neglect, and I think that we shouldn't just stereotype and think that it's just going to be the low income or those who seem to be in poverty conditions. I have detected neglect in the other types of environments also. What type of emotional neglect do you think could come about in a family situation where both parents, for instance, are working and are out of the home?
I suppose if both parents are really working and the child is left alone, all the responsibility put on themselves. And this is the only way for the child to be provided food. I don't know, but there has to be a process for these types of people where the parents can be someone at home.
Right. I know that I have dealt with parents in the past who are workaholics, and they assume because they are caring for the physical needs of the child that the emotional needs are also being met. And I think as teachers, we need to constantly be able to watch for neglect in the emotional arena for children who may have all the physical needs met, but emotionally are starved for affection and attention and time giving from their caretakers. Right.
Also, I notice that some parents, they like to work and then they try to hang out with their kids and immediately take off. And at home, it's very important for them to socialize with their children.
Right.
It's just really sad. The child's bored, they're scared.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate, Ray, what appears to me that you have looked at the whole gamut of child abuse and neglect. And I think that it will be good if we do indeed offer you a position on our staff, that you could come to us with some good qualifications that would help us in detecting these things in the classroom. I appreciate the time that you've spent with me today. I think that's been profitable for both of us, and I do look forward to spending more time with you in the future.
Yes, thank you.
And what I'll be doing is I will be going through some more resumes, and I'll be getting in touch with you. I would say in the next couple of days. Will you be in the area so I can contact you?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you, Ray. I appreciate, again, as I said, that you came in today and took the time to talk with me. Thank you.